How's it going, everyone? This is Anthony with Nvous Frenchies. Today we are going to be discussing DNA, how it works. So DNA is very simple. Don't make it complex. It's very simple. So DNA has to have 2 copies in order to produce it with everything except for brindle and merle. Okay? Now what I mean by this. So you see people talk about, oh, their dogs carry this, their dogs carry that. We'll just use blue for an example, D, which is the dilute for blue. So if a dog carries blue, it'll read little d, big D on the DNA sheet. If it reads little d, then that means that the dog is 2 copies of dilute, which means the dog is blue. If it's big D, the dog does not carry blue. It cannot make a blue. It will never be able to produce those. That's the same for everything. Same for cocoa, same for Isabella chocolate, same for cream, everything. Tan points, that's where it does get a little tricky. Tan points the dog can either be ATA or ATAT. There is an AY gene, which is for fawn and sable. The dog can be AYAT, and at that point, it would be a fawn that carries tan points. If it's AYA, the A stands for recessive black, which just means it's a solid dog. It's a solid color. So if you have an AA dog, it's a solid color. I do have one of the very rare occasions where King Kong does have tan points and he's AA. Very rare, just not normal, but he's just the anomaly. So creams, same thing. You have to have 2 copies of the E locus to produce the cream. Cocoa is the CO gene. You have to have 2 copies of cocoa to produce cocoa. And you have to have 2 copies of the little b to produce a testable chocolate or a rojo. In order to produce an Isabella, your dog has to be little d, little b. For a new shade Isabella, your dog has to be little d, little b, little co. Very simple. So, for example, let's talk about maybe the dog is a Isabella and tan fluffy. So the dog's either ATA or ATAT, little d, little b, and it's either the cocoa doesn't have a factor to make it an Isabella. It does if it's a new shade Isabella. So that doesn't have a bearing. But if we're talking about a new shade, it would be little co, and then NN for the K locus is for brindle. If it reads NN, that means it's no brindle. If it reads K or KB, then that dog is brindle. Cream will cover any color. So if your dog is a EE, it'll cover a blue and tan, a black and tan, a chocolate tan, every color. It'll cover merle, it'll cover everything. Even brindle. Brindle takes, like I said, the 1 copy to pass. So if the dog passes brindle and it has a copy of brindle, then it is a brindle. Merle's the same thing if it takes 1 copy to pass. So if the dog gets a copy of merle, it's a merle dog. The don'ts. Do not breed merle to merle. Your dogs will come out very unhealthy. They'll come out like not there. Don't breed pied to pied. Don't want to do that either. So you're not wanting to breed those really white pigments and really white pigments because the dogs can come out deformed and defective. I don't know why, but that's just what they say. I'm not going to test it. I don't want to risk it, so I don't do that. If you guys have any questions about French Bulldog DNA, please hit the comments below. Let me know. I can get back with you guys. Thank you guys always for the support. I hope you guys have a nice day. Again, this is Anthony with Nvous Frenchies with LambTalk.